Be bored, get bored. The best ideas come from you doing absolutely nothing, like literally nothing. Now, I understand being bored sometimes portrays as being lazy or being very unproductive, or so-called sometimes you might be thinking about, what am I doing with my life? And that is totally normal. Now, when you're being bored, I don't recommend doing that type of boredom. I'm talking about being bored by coming up with ideas, because the best ideas come from you being bored. Now, listen, don't distract yourself by watching Netflix or binge watching shows or scrolling on your phone, because as you do that, you'll distract yourself and no idea will ever come for you. And maybe they might pop up in your head, but most of the time they won't. What I mean by being bored, I'm talking about not even sitting down and staring at a ceiling all day. I'm talking about doing your everyday routine, like errands, going to the gym, going for a run, going for a walk. Doing this long period of time, you'll come up with one of the best ideas ever. Whether you're a content creator, an artist, a painter, or any creativity job that you might have or that you're pursuing right now, because those are the best things that you could do for yourself when coming up with ideas. Now, a few things that you can literally think about is like, you might be thinking, okay, well, how do I come up with the ideas? Well, what should I be thinking about? Well, one, don't overthink it, because that's like a no-brainer. But two, you have to become obsessed with it. Like, whatever you're doing in life that you truly love doing, you need to be a little obsessed with it. And I say this because you need to think about it when you're not doing it, right? If you're, like, say, a chef, right? And you're not behind the kitchen, but you're maybe going on a run or on a car drive, right? You need to think about chefing. You need to think about like coming up with the best dishes, or you need to come up with ideas of what went wrong the next day. And the reason for this is because that's how you generate the best idea. Same thing with content creation. You're not going to always be making content every day, right? You're going to be coming up with ideas, and then usually 80% of the time when you sit down and write as many ideas as you can, they're probably really bad. And mostly this comes from forcing ideas. And when you force an idea, they're terrible. And mostly this is because you're just trying to put something down on the paper. That's why I never recommend coming up with ideas through that way. And another thing is, like, even like artists, right? Most of the time when good music comes out, they say most of the time when they come up with the lyrics is like them doing nothing, like them just doing their everyday routines, like going food shopping or going for a run or meeting with friends, and they just one day just popped up with a thought, and that's the lyrics that came up with it. And those are usually the best songs ever, because why? They're authentic and it relates to themselves. And that's the same thing goes with any creativity, because when you come up with a creative idea, you want to be authentic for yourself. You want to be you and be creative on yourself. You don't want to come up with ideas through inspiration or through someone else's idea and try to make it a little bit better. Yes, that could work, but by no means. I mean, that can definitely work. But sometimes when you're being authentic, when you're being yourself and coming up with ideas through that way, those are the best performing videos. Not only because it resonates with you, but because it's unique, it's different, and it's something different on the internet or through whatever thing you're doing, And I think that's many people tend to forget about, is like we're constantly chasing the number game, and we're constantly thinking about, okay, how can I get a million views, or how can I get a million downloads, right? And yes, that's a good mindset, that's a good goal to have, but having that mentality and stealing other people's work and try to make it better, again, that's no problem. That's a good idea, but it's not sustainable. What's sustainable is coming up with ideas on your own, coming up with ideas that resonate with yourself, because those are the ideas that will blow up. Those are the ideas that will generally make you millions of views, millions of downloads, because that is who you are. That's who's resonating with yourself. Now, listen, I'm not saying being bored every single day you'll get the best ideas, or being bored every single minute of your life coming up with ideas you'll get millions of views, millions of downloads. That is not what I'm saying. I mean, it will generally take some time. It's going to hit you on the most spontaneous day. It could hit you on a Wednesday evening or a Friday night. You just gotta like try to think about it every day, but don't overthink it, because the more you overthink it, then that's where it's like you're overthinking the idea. You really just need to do your everyday routine and come up with ideas, And something that I recommend when you come up with ideas is like using your phone, using the note app, and every idea that you come up with is just write it down, just so you don't forget about it, And that's like something I feel like we tend to do, is like when we come up with really good ideas, we might forget about it. And when we forget about it, we'll start to overthink, like, man, what was that idea? And then you come up with a different idea, and it wasn't the same idea, and that idea might not work. Another thing is, like, when you're bored, I don't recommend doing it every day. Like if you're working at a job, let's say, and it's really slow and you're doing nothing, that's usually a really good time to come up with ideas. That's usually when ideas will flow in. Let's say even if you're, I don't know, if you're a waiter, you know, and you're cleaning up the dishes and you're like waiting tables, you'll come up with really good ideas. And honestly, when you're getting bored, I feel like some people might think of this as just like laying down all day and doing nothing. I don't recommend that. I mean, yeah, maybe you can come up with some ideas, but from my personal experience, I never came up with ideas just laying in bed all day. Don't get me wrong, I love laying in bed all day. I like taking my long baths, but I recommend you doing something. I say this because if you don't do anything, if you're not actively doing something, ideas won't really flow in. Your mind will be actually lazy. It would feel like you're just lazy. Your mind will be like in sleep mode. So that's why I recommend doing something. I mean, sure, you can probably come up with some ideas, but I just recommend doing things that you're actively doing that doesn't take that much thought process. But yeah, I mean, any hobby that you really do, like skateboarding, fishing, like I said, going for a run, you know, going on a dog walk. If you have a dog, you know, it's a perfect idea. Like every time like I go for a walk, I'm like, man, I should get a dog, because like I go on walks like almost every day. Well, now it's like turning into runs, because like that's like a new thing right now. It's like really good for yourself anyway. But yeah, like that. Like I come up with a lot of ideas through there. And honestly, when I'm running, when I'm, you know, walking, I not only come up with ideas, but I come up with what I could say in that idea, like for a content, you know. And that same thing for an artist, you know, or same thing with a painter, you know. When you're painting something and you don't really like something, you're like, all right, how can I change this? Maybe I'll use a different color, or maybe I'll use this brush or whatever, you know. And this is like, that's the thing that you should think about when you're being bored, when you're doing your everyday routine. Don't distract yourself. You know, that's something that we tend to fall into in our society, is like when we distract ourselves, we don't become who we are. We don't come up with ideas. And listen, that's not on you. That's because of social media. That's because of the internet. It's designed to distract yourself of becoming the best version of yourself, becoming the idea, you know, becoming creative. You know, they want you to be distracted, you know, and that's something that you have to overlook, and that's something that you have to avoid, you know. But I gotta get going. That's gonna be it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.